Hey everyone, my name is Tim Collins, and welcome to my new podcast, Adventure Mind, where I'll be exploring the intersection of outdoor adventure and mental health. I'm really excited to start this new project and share this with you guys. I wanted to kind of just do a little overview for episode one and kind of just talk about why I'm starting this podcast, what's going to happen here, what you could expect from this podcast, and things of that nature. So first, let's start with why this podcast exists. Basically, I have always kind of struggled with some mental health issues, whether that be anxiety, depression, even some PTSD and some other things. And I've always found that nature and being outdoors and doing adventurous things can really help heal those things and help build coping mechanisms. One of the big things for me is just building mental toughness and mental resilience while out in nature doing difficult things, doing hard things, and pushing myself. I found that that translates into regular life and helps me be more resilient in dealing with mental health struggles. So I just really want to talk about how that has kind of transformed my life and talk about how it could help you. And I'm going to, share stories about my mental health journey and how adventure has played a part in that. I'm going to hopefully get some guests on here to talk about their adventure and how that's helped transform their lives, things of that nature. So just to give you a little bit of background on my story, 15 years sober as of today, actually, as of recording this episode. I'm about 40 years old. I'm about to turn 40 years old, and I have been using adventure to cope with things for the last like 15 years since I got sober. For a while there, it was motorcycles. I had a motorcycle travel channel. I rode motorcycles all over the United States, all the national parks, and I've been down in Mexico and Canada, and never really made it much further than that, but I did a ton of riding, and that was huge for my mental health. It really, really helped me grow as a person, really challenged myself. I did a lot of backcountry, like off-road riding on a very heavy motorcycle. It was very challenging for me, and bringing those tools that I was building and putting together into real life, regular life, absolutely priceless. I'm able to deal with so much more mental health struggles because I have built up that strength, that mental resilience that I've talked about. But anyways, some mental health stuff popped up after a few years of riding. That kind of got me away from riding, and I started getting into hiking and backpacking and foot adventures, hiking around. And I went to Everest Base Camp recently with my brother. That was about 80 miles of absolutely stunning scenery, just breathtaking. And uh, this was a really key experience for me because a few months prior to that, I lost my mom to cancer. It was a very difficult time. She was battling cancer for about 5 years. And towards the end of her life, I went back home for a few months to spend time with her and help take care of her. And it was very difficult to have that long goodbye with her. I'm so grateful that I was able to be there with her in that challenging time for her. And I'm glad that we were able to make the last few months of her life really special, and her whole family was there, and it was really perfect, but very difficult, very challenging. So this trip to Nepal, like, she was so excited that my brother and I were planning this trip, and she would have been absolutely thrilled to hear about that adventure when we got home. But this trip, I really felt like she was there with us. Everything just worked out so perfectly. The weather was clear the whole time. We had crystal clear views of Everest throughout the whole trek. Everything just went perfectly. And it really helped me cope with losing my mother. And like I said, I feel like she was there with me. And it was just a really special experience. And I'm glad I got to have that experience. And it really helped me out dealing with the loss of my mother. So that's kind of my backstory. Anything adventurous, I'm down for it. I try new things all the time. Kind of a quiet person. So like this podcast for me is like, it's a bit of a challenge coming up with things to, not coming up with things to talk about. I have a lot of things I want to talk about, but like being able to sit here in front of the camera and talk to you is a challenge for me. And I think that that's going to help me grow as a person the way that YouTube helped me grow as a person. Pushing myself to be more talkative in front of the camera, and even just seeing myself on camera and like being able to work on like my mannerisms and stuff has given me a lot of confidence. I'm not a public speaker, and that probably will never happen. I probably won't go down that road, but I've gotten more confident talking to new people and things, just having this under my belt, having YouTube under my belt, and now this podcast as well, this video podcast. So that's kind of my personal story. I'll give you a little background on who I am. We're going to dive into a lot more of this type of stuff on this show. But that's kind of the brief overview of things that are relevant to this podcast. So basically, now I kind of want to talk a little bit about what adventure mind means. Basically, this is a concept that adventure is a tool for growth, for grounding, for clarity, for mental resilience, which I keep mentioning, and not just extreme trips. This is a big part of it because I think with social media and everything, like we all have like these expectations that like we need to, go big all the time and be super epic and do all these crazy things like go to Mount Everest base camp. But that's just not the case. Like it's just not necessary to get the same mental benefits and mental health perks. The other day, Christmas, I went for like a 3-mile hike with my friend. Didn't even leave Phoenix. It was like a little park inside of Phoenix, but we were out in nature. It had just rained, and in the desert, when it just rains, it smells so incredible. Like it's just, I can't even describe the smell, but it is so beautiful. And I enjoyed it so much. And it was just a simple little small 3-mile hike, probably like 15 minutes from where I live, not even out in the wilderness in the desert, but enough to be around plants and flowers and, a dirt path. It was all just perfect, and it was small and it was manageable. And it's something that anybody can do. Very frequently, I will just, if I don't have time to do a big adventure, I'll just head to a local park. I'll go grab a cup of coffee and head to the local park and just sit, watch the ducks or whatever, swimming in the water. It doesn't have to be big and epic. Don't get me wrong, on this show, we're definitely going to talk about some big and epic adventurous stuff. Hopefully talk to some people who have done some big adventurous stuff, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can definitely get mental health benefits from smaller adventures. So it's just really important to note that it doesn't have to be epic. Small stuff can also have value and benefit. So now let's talk a little bit about the mental health side of adventure. This has been something that has helped me manage stress, anxiety, burnout was a big one for me. I'm a workaholic. I push myself to the max, and I've been burnt out a few times, and it's not pretty. But getting out into nature definitely helps with that. And also just feeling stuck in life. Like sometimes we just get to a point where we feel stagnant, like we're not growing. Sometimes we just need to shake things up and go out on a crazy adventure, maybe alone, do something scary, something we've never done before, do it safely, but do something scary, So I think there's just such a huge relationship between mental health and adventure, outdoor adventure. So yeah, that's kind of how I see the relationship between mental health and adventure. There's just a link between it that I think is undeniable, in my opinion. So basically, now let's kind of talk a little bit about who this podcast is for. And this podcast is for anyone like me that struggles with some mental health issues and finds value and benefit in being out in nature. So if that sounds like you, welcome. I'm really glad to have you here checking out my new podcast. I have a lot of topics that I'm going to cover on here, and I think they're all going to be relevant for anybody that struggles with mental health and finds value and benefit in being out in nature or doing difficult things. That's a big one for me. Finding value in doing difficult things is a big one because this has built so much mental strength for me, and it's made such a huge impact on my mental health and my ability to deal with my mental health struggles. So yeah, anybody that can relate to that, you're definitely in the right place, and I'm glad to have you here. So let's talk a little bit about what you can expect in each episode. Basically, I'm going to do a lot of solo reflections, share some stories with you guys from my experience. I'm going to offer some practical tools, hopefully have some guest conversations on here. And basically, I'm planning on posting once a week. I don't know what day of the week yet, probably Monday, but I'm planning on posting at least once a week. So you can expect to find me here wherever you listen to podcasts once a week. Make sure to subscribe. If you're watching this video on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, do all that fun stuff. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you can relate to any of this stuff that I'm talking about. And I'd love to hear from you guys over there. And you can also, I think you can leave comments on Spotify. I don't know, wherever else you listen to podcasts. Definitely leave a review if you don't mind. If you find value in this podcast and in the coming episodes, really helps me out if you could leave a review. and it helps other people find the channel, the podcast as well. So that's kind of what you can expect from each episode. I have some people in mind that I want to interview. I'm going to, practice a little more on my own, doing my own solo shows for a little while, practice that before I invite anybody on. But I have some friends that have done some pretty cool things that I want to talk to and get their stories and how they've grown from adventure. So just to kind of set the tone, I want to talk about honesty over perfection. I'm going to try to be real open and raw on this podcast and really share the truth and share my struggles, but also share my triumphs and my wins. And this is a real honest space. There's no fake motivation here, no toxic positivity, just genuine conversation. That's the goal here. Going to be real with you guys and share it as I see it and as it is, in my opinion. I'll just share my raw experience. I'm not going to sugarcoat things or act like everything's perfect all the time, because it's not. I have struggles, and, it's not every day is great. But overall, in general, as a whole, I'm a pretty happy person, and I really love being out in nature in any form and in any type of nature. I'm a really big fan of the desert. I live out in Arizona, spend a lot of time in the desert, but I also absolutely love the mountains. I love, all the national parks that I've been to. Like, I just absolutely love them. I love being out in nature and, breathing the fresh air and reconnecting with the earth. And it's just, love it. I can't get enough of it. And I'm excited to be sharing that with you guys, the real side of it, and I'm going to talk about the struggles on adventures that I've been on, where I've really had to push myself to get through. Everest Base Camp, for example, that was a really, really challenging adventure for me. The elevation was seriously, it was no joke. It was so difficult to breathe up there, and it really impacts your ability to hike and move your body. But I pushed through it. There were times where I thought I was going to pass out, and I was really worried that the guide was going to notice and tell me I had to turn around before I made it to base camp, which is a big goal for me. Like, I really wanted to make the whole distance, the whole thing. And I was really close. Like, the day we were going to get to base camp, I was struggling to breathe and like staring at the ground. Like, that's like, I just felt like I was going to fall forward and just fall on my face and just pass out. Like, it was so, so intense, but I pushed through it, and I'm so glad that I did. It was such an incredible experience to make it to base camp, such an accomplishment, but so, so challenging, so challenging. But I love that challenge, and I love type 2 fun. I love, making good stories, hard times make good stories. It's been a lot of struggles on adventure for me. Like, that's a big part of it. It's a big part of adventure, is like pushing yourself to do things that are scary or difficult, and just finding the value and pushing through that stuff and making it to the other side. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe of what I'm hoping to create here. It's just very real, very, very honest, open conversations about mental health and adventure and how they relate. So let's talk a little bit about how you can use this podcast. Basically, hopefully you can find some time to check this out, maybe on your way to work or when you're not able to go out on adventures. But also maybe if you're on an adventure, maybe you're on a solo trip and you're camping out and you want a little entertainment, something to listen to while you're out there enjoying nature. Hopefully I can join you on those experiences. Maybe it's a companion for a walk that you're taking, or a drive, or just solo quiet reflection. I'm just excited to be with you in whatever capacity you want to enjoy this podcast. So basically, I would like to invite you to explore alongside, to slow down, get curious, and build a life that feels aligned with nature. Really excited to have you guys here. Very excited about this podcast, this new project. I have a lot of things that I want to talk about, and I'm really excited to have you guys here. I'm going to be posting once a week, like I said, and hopefully I will see you guys there, or you will hear me, or whatever format you happen to be enjoying this podcast. If you are listening and you want to see my face, you can check it out on YouTube. It's a video podcast on YouTube. Anyways, that's kind of it for today. I'm really excited to share some insight with you guys over the next couple of weeks. Gonna, make a couple podcasts before I actually launch the podcast so that you have a little something to listen to. So if you are listening to this I would say there are probably at least a couple more episodes that you could enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe and also leave a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Anyways, thanks for being here and I will talk to you real soon. Bye.